All things death and dying. That's what we are going to discuss today in the spirit of this season. I'm really excited to have a close friend of mine here with me. Masumi, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about why you are an expert in this area?
Sure. Thanks, Danny. It's good to be here. Hi, everyone. My name is Masumi Patel. I am the founding attorney at Law Office of Masumi Patel, and I help my clients figure out what to do with their assets after they pass away and how to get those assets into the hands of their loved ones. I also help my clients who maybe have had loved ones who have passed away that don't have an estate plan and how to navigate the court probate process.
You know, being in real estate, it's crazy to me how many people are truly not prepared for that season of life.
It's surprising, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. So tell us a little bit about what exactly is an estate plan and how does it protect someone's assets?
Sure. So an estate plan, the overall word that kind of describes a category or a bunch of documents. So an estate plan is comprised of your trust, a will, your powers of attorney, and your medical documents, such as an advanced healthcare directive. So that's where you nominate someone to make medical decisions for you after if you're unable to make them yourself. You have your HIPAA authorization, so who can have access to your medical records. And then your living will, which tells your doctors of your end-of-life wishes, kind of like a DNR. So all of these documents, and then there are a couple of other ones, but those are usually the big ones people want to know about, make up your estate plan.
So you mentioned a will, right? And I think we've all heard of a will. You know, like in movies, you always see them written on the back of napkins, right? So what is the difference between a will and a trust, and why might someone prefer a trust over a will?
So a will and a trust are two different documents that do two very different things. A will is effective when you pass away. A trust is effective the moment you sign it. So if you want to discuss guardianship over your kids as to where your kids go after you pass away, that's something you want to put into a will. You don't put that into a trust, right? Because you're not giving guardianship over after you sign the document.
What if I want to give my kids away before I pass?
We've all been there.
Would that go in my trust then? So it sounds like there's a pretty big difference then.
Yeah, there is a big difference.
But both are important.
Both are very important, and you need both of them. Some people feel like you only need a will. If you have a will, then you don't have to go to probate. But that's not true. In California, if you own property, the best way to avoid having to have any court intervention or go through the probate process is by having your real estate and your other assets in a trust.
So if someone just has a will, and I believe you just answered this, but if someone just has a will but doesn't have a trust, what happens?
They're going to probate.
Okay. And what exactly is probate?
So probate is when the court gets involved and
after someone passes, right?
Yes, after someone passes. Good point. The judge basically at the end of the probate process makes an order that says all of these assets that used to belong to the now deceased person now belong to the deceased's relatives or heirs. It's just how the court transfers ownership of assets.
So if I have my bank accounts, my house, my kids even, right? And I pass, the court, then the probate, all of my stuff, if I don't have this set up, goes to probate or the court, and then the court has to make decisions for me. My relatives can't just step in and say, well, I'm the son or the daughter, I can decide what happens, but that's not...
No. So if you don't make up your own estate plan, the state of California has lovingly created one for you. And so the judge will follow the plan that is set out by the state. They will not deviate from it. And so that's why it's important for you to create your own estate plan so you have control over who inherits your assets and also how they inherit your assets.
I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people just assume, oh, my kids will go to so-and-so because I've talked to so-and-so and I want them to be the guardians of my kids should something happen. But that's not how it works, right?
Not necessarily. Those guardians also have to step up and say they want your kids. And usually if you don't have something written down, it's your one cousin that, you know, you've never liked. That's the cousin who's going to come out of the woodwork and say, I'll take your kids, right?
Right.
Yeah, so you should have something written down.
So I think that there's a common misconception that I'd love to get your thoughts on. People often think that a trust is only for the rich people. right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have enough assets to establish a trust. So what would you say are some of the minimum requirements for for a trust to be necessary?
If you own real estate in the state of California, you need a trust. Our rules concerning probate are a lot different than a lot of other states. And it doesn't really matter the amount of wealth you have, just that if you own property, you need a trust.
Period.
Period.
Yeah, I think that that's so important. It's crazy as a loan officer, I see hundreds of transactions of real estate.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that do not have a trust set up is actually mind-boggling because they are putting themselves and their assets at risk.
They are.
You know?
Probate, there are three main reasons you really want to avoid probate. It is expensive.
Yeah.
It is time consuming. And the one most people don't realize is that it makes your loved ones, or it could make your loved ones, more susceptible to fraud because anybody can walk up off the street, go to the courthouse, ask to see your file, and know how much you're worth, what type of assets you had, but also who's inheriting and what their address is.
That's crazy.
So then you make your loved ones more susceptible to fraud. And with the way the world is going towards all these crazy phishing schemes and whatnot, you really want to protect their privacy.
That's such a good point. The probate process is completely public.
It is.
Which a lot of people don't know. Because
Yeah.
they think that, if I go to probate, there's going to, this person gets this and this person gets that. But anybody can look that up,
Yep.
right? And their address and their information and
Yep.
reach out. That's wild. That's
Yeah.
wild. Okay, so you've convinced me. I need to set up a trust. What do I do next? So I go to you. You help me create the documents. But now what do I do? What does the trust do? Tell me a little about that process.
Once you've created or once you've signed your trust and put, then in effect created your trust, the attorney, what I usually do, the next step is for me to draft a new deed, taking your real estate out of your personal name and transferring back to yourself as trustee of whatever the name of your trust is going to be called.
So the Danny Waddell Trust.
Correct.
Okay.
And so that's how you get your house into your trust, and it gets re-recorded with the recorder's office so that everybody knows this house is part of a trust and it does not need to go to probate. So that's step number one. And that's usually handled by the attorney. But what you need to do is then you need to go down to your bank accounts or whatever financial institutions you have and do the same thing that I did for the deed to your house, to your accounts.
So does the trust then kind of own my assets now and I just
You
manage
as trustee own those assets.
Okay.
So nothing in terms of your taxes or your day-to-day living changes. It's just who's the owner of those accounts and assets changes to you as trustee of, again, whatever the trust is going to be called.
And that's all assets. That's like retirement, stock, crypto, all of it?
Well, it's not retirement or life insurance because any type of account where there's a beneficiary already listed on the account,
Yep.
that money will automatically go to that beneficiary. But what I do tell my clients is to list the trust as a backup beneficiary.
Yep.
And if the first beneficiary listed is minor children, take them off.
Why did you say that?
If something were to happen to you while your children are minors, the children would inherit everything at 18. Now, I don't know what you were like when you were 18, but I certainly...
Very responsible.
Yeah, I certainly wasn't that responsible, right? And so you want to set your children up for success. You don't want them to blow all their money at 18 on booze, shoes, cars, and, good times. So what I encourage my clients to do is when they have minor children is to not have them automatically inherit at 18. So in the trust, we can say maybe they inherit, 15% at age 25 when their brains are fully developed.
Yours was fully developed at 25?
That's what they
impressive.
Say. That 25, 26.
I was still struggling.
I mean, we all peak at certain times, right?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a late bloomer.
Yeah, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And then maybe they inherit another 30% at age 30 and the rest at 35, right? So if you have them inheriting through your retirement or life insurance accounts at 18, but then the trust says differently, then they kind of work in opposition to each other. So if you list the trust as the backup beneficiary, then everything works in conjunction and it's much smoother.
Okay, that makes sense. So one last question I have is, okay, I have a trust. How often should I be re-reviewing it or changing it or adjusting it? How often do you review the trusts with your clients, or would you recommend?
So I recommend every 2 to 3 years, take a look at your trust. What you want to look for is the people that you've nominated to fill the various roles in your trust and your estate plan. Do you still want those people in those roles? Is everyone still alive, right? Maybe some people have moved out of state, or maybe you're no longer close to these people, or maybe they've, developed a cocaine addiction or
Whoa.
gone to rehab, or,
Yeah.
life happens.
Yeah, it does.
And so you don't want those people in that position.
Right.
So
Of
that's
managing the assets in your
assets,
trust.
or even your children, whoever your guardian of your children are, right?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, or
absolutely.
whoever you've nominated to make medical decisions for you.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you had your next door neighbor that was your best friend since kindergarten. They moved to DC.
Yeah.
You might want someone close by if there's a medical emergency.
Yeah.
So look at those things. That's important. And then if there are big changes within the law that affect my clients, I usually reach out for those type of things because my clients aren't going to know when the law changes.
And you'll help manage that aspect.
Absolutely.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So what I've learned is that a trust is very different from a will.
Yep.
And that another thing I've learned is you don't have to be rich to need a trust.
Correct.
If you own any kind of land or any kind of real estate, it's important to set up a trust.
Yep.
If you have kids, especially to protect your family, a
Yep.
trust is important. It's important to update your trust every 2 to 3 years.
Yep.
And avoid probate at all costs.
You got it.
Yep. Masumi, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah.
I hope that, anybody that's watching, this is beneficial for you. Masumi is an excellent resource here in California. So if anybody has any questions or would like to reach out, please, we'll put her information below so that you can contact her or reach out to me and I'd be happy to do an introduction. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Danny.
Thanks.